Clock to chicken. All right, let's do it, folks. Thanks, everybody, and welcome to today's live stream, Friends of Figma London. Before we do kick off, just a few housekeeping rules. The format is there's going to be two speakers back to back, and then we can have a Q&A. So if you do have any questions, please ask them in the chat. I'll be monitoring it. I'll also be preparing some questions of my own so we can ask them at the end. There is a code of conduct for Figma more generally. If you go to figma.com/code of conduct, you can find that there. And the talks will be uploaded to my YouTube channel as soon as I can get around to editing them. Today is the first event of 2021, so give us a little round of applause in the chat. We're really excited to be hosting two speakers this evening. Today's talk is going to be about designs that scale across time zones and brands. Really important topic, and I'm really excited to see what they've got to say. It comes up every single day in my job. How can we scale our design system? How can we support multiple products and brands, etc.? So really excited for this one. My name's Louis Oriash. I'm Figma's designer advocate for Europe. You can find me on Twitter at DiscoLou, and I'll be your host. And we have Chloe, Nacho, and Steve today as your speakers. I won't speak anymore. I'm going to hand it over to Chloe to get started.
Cool. So, hi everyone who's watching. I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see it.
Yep, all good.
Yep, perfect. Okay, everyone, so this is my first talk, so you've got to give me some love, okay? Cool. So today I'm going to be talking about evolving a global D2C platform, and currently where we started and where we're ending up, and introduce you a little bit to Discovery's ways of working. So first, just a little bit of background about me. I have been designing for about 5 years now. Mainly worked in agency and marketing, and these are just some of the few companies I've worked for. So Rolls-Royce, BP, I did some stuff for Royal Mail, Green Tomato Cars, M&G, LeasePlan. So some familiar brands and also some not familiar brands, but either way, you know, it's still good practice and still really good experience, and it's helped me get to where I am today. Right now, I'm currently a product designer at Discovery Plus, and when I joined, it was originally called Dplay. So Dplay was around for about 5 years, and it operated mainly in the Nordics, Europe, and Japan. And in October 2020, it rebranded to Discovery Plus in the UK. And in January this year, it was launched in the US. So not only was that a huge thing, but it also made us a global product and a global team. So this is currently how Dplay looked. It was available, still is, on native apps such as Android and iOS, responsive web and mobile, and TV. So tvOS, Samsung, Fire Stick, Chromecast, etc. But this is really how Dplay was behind the scenes. So as you can see from these 3 screenshots that I've managed to consolidate, this is all our styles and assets, and they were so inconsistent per device and per region. So inconsistent buttons and inconsistent icons. On iOS alone, there was over 1,300 colors, and for Android, there was 1,100. So really, the bigger issue here is that there was no system. There was no clarity, there was no source of truth, and if we couldn't understand it, then our users definitely wouldn't be able to either. So just to show you how chaotic it really was, another product designer did an audit for every single icon that was being used per region. So this breakdown really gave us an insight into how things really were. So we knew that icons could only be effective when being used to improve the visual interest and grab users' attention. The problem was that at this time, Dplay had no brand or visual identity. So this audit really helped distinguish the best use of icons through testing. So basically, we needed something to change in order to communicate with our users quickly. So there was also another problem with what was happening, and that was, again, we were becoming a global team, And currently at that time, we were using 5 different softwares alone. So our designers were using Sketch for obviously designing. We have a separate UX team at Discovery as well, and they were using Azure for low fidelity wireframes. The handover and developer communication was done via Zeppelin, and communication for POs, UX, and any kind of feedback was done via InVision. And lastly, Abstract, and that was used for version control. We also wanted to introduce a 6th platform, which was called Zero Height, and that was mainly for documentation. But another issue was that we had nothing to document because we had no system. So although there was a lot of good things with those previous softwares, there was also a lot of bad things. So the current workflow was not good for global collaboration, and we couldn't really evolve with the way that we're working in the existing framework. There was no communication, there was no transparency with our product. Nobody really knew who was working on what, and there was such a disconnection between the devs and developers. And as you know, product designers and devs need to get along for a successful product and a successful relationship. So that led to a lot of frustration and a lot of confusion. So with that, we sent a survey across our team, and it was mainly just to get more explicit feedback on where our workflow needed to improve. And this really is just a screenshot of, I guess, some of the feedback we got from the survey on the screen. So moving forward, we knew that we had to focus on 3 key areas of improvement. So that was working together on the same file at the same time for transparency and real-time collaboration, work on the most up-to-date version, so no fear of overriding master files or doing stuff with branches or whatever it was on Abstract. It was just a mess, basically. And we needed a cloud-based solution for storing files, so less emails, less links, and less Slack messages. So with that research, we made the decision to drop all these softwares and transition from Sketch fully to Figma. So this is just really an insight into how our Figma is currently structured right now. Moving forward, we split our system into 5 key areas. So registration and onboarding, core experience, player, profile and accounts, and design system, which I'll get into in a little bit. But moving forward, this way has obviously improved global collaboration, and it's been implemented globally. We then went per platform, so iOS, connected devices, Android. And as we are such a small team, I mean, there's me and 2 other designers, we now own one of these platforms. So it really helps in terms of design decisions, if there's new features and design system changes per platform, basically. So we were all more transparent as to what everybody was working on, and that was something that we never had before. And this is just an overview of our project's dashboard and the projects that we're currently working on. So another thing that we wanted to introduce was our thumbnails to represent each device. So green for Android, iOS had yellow, purple for CTV, and blue web. So again, this has obviously been implemented also as a global scale as well to help us distinguish between platforms quicker. We also introduced labeling conventions. So work in progress, so work that we're currently working on. Future thinking is more like our playground. So it's more for testing and playing with ideas and coming up with solutions or just new ideations, basically. And archive for discontinued projects or de-scoped projects, basically. So we also introduced a 4th area which we call specs. Now, specs to us is handover. This is our source of truth, something that we never had before. So files have to be approved, not only by our team, but PMs or whoever we're currently working with. What that allows us is seamless communication and very limited handover between designers and developers. And again, this is something that we never had before, which improved our workflow so much better. So we had a workflow, but now we just needed the system. And we knew that moving forward, we had to build a scalable design system to serve all other products and user needs. So with that, we introduced we knew that our new design system needed new considerations in order to scale and become global. It needed the least amount of changes in the least amount of time, at the highest value, at the least cost, and it had to allow access to many people. So what we consider design system at discovery is core UI and assets and styles, which include typography, colors, logo, and everything that supports the design. We also introduced a new baseline system, a redefined typography kit following our baseline structure, and a simplified color palette. So no more like 1,300 colors on Android alone kind of thing. So it was all thought out, it was all refined, finally. So just to give you an idea of our baseline structure, I don't know if you guys can see, it's kind of pixelated, sorry about that. We had 14 pixels for extra small and small mobile devices, 16 pixels for tablets, 20 pixels for large and extra large desktops, and 24 pixels mainly for TV sizes, so 1920 resolution sizes kind of thing. So this structure defines content spacing, layout spacing, text spacing, and styling, such as radiuses and shadows. So our current font sizes are also set into EM units, and that basically translates into different pixel values while the pixel fixes in size, basically. So that really gives us the flexibility and the ability to scale elements basically up and down. Up and down. This also allows us to balance between visual accuracy and design accuracy. So yeah. So this is just a visual element to how our grids currently look and what we're currently working with. And it's just really a visual representation of what we wanted to achieve. And with that comes our new and improved icon kit. So following our baseline that has been glowed out globally as well, all following that same structure. And lastly, we implemented the use of design tokens, and that really helped power visual consistency across all our platforms. And design tokens are directly integrated into our component libraries and UI kits on Figma. So the following types of design tokens are the building blocks and design decisions that makes up our design language. And essentially these end up as JSON files, and all our apps can be read from them, and they're the values needed to construct and maintain our design system. So from spacing to color to typography, objects, styles, etc. It's all represented as data. And with that, I think it's really important as us, as designers and whoever in design industry, that design systems are not just visual components, but they're also a technical implementation as well. So here's what we've currently ended up with from all this research and all this data that we've ended up with. And here's where Dplay currently is at. But now this is what Dplay currently looks like behind the scenes, all within our core UI and styles. From components to textiles, buttons, and spacing, Dplay finally not only had a visual identity, but a system. So what's next? And again, I apologize for this being very, very sweet and short. But yeah, so what's next for us is, well, Discovery Plus and Discovery. So as we continue to grow as a team, we're still refining and streamlining our design system. And I think really the key takeaways is that design systems need maintaining, and decisions that we've made 5 months ago may not even be applicable now. And I think for people who join a company also, decisions that we've made back then also may not make sense to them either. So decisions without clear rationale can feel very, very limiting in this aspect. So while Discovery Plus is still a new product and is yet to be defined, we're in a much better position now than we ever were to evolve. And that really is because we just basically scrapped it, started from scratch. And I think sometimes you have to start with the foundations to build up. And right now, that is how we're evolving our design system. So yeah.
Awesome work, Chloe. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Everybody give a little clap in the chat, please. We're going to keep going, run straight through to Nacho and Steve. Over to you, folks.
Okay, we're back. All right, Nacho, do you want to take the stage?
Sure thing.
So we're going to do it. We're going to do a bit of a swap over at halfway, just so bear with us, everybody.
Chloe, can you stop sharing, because maybe that's the problem.
Hey guys.
No worries. Let's try now. Oh yes, we are in. Awesome. Right. Well, Chloe, amazing presentation, and it's super cool to see that you guys at Discovery are doing things in a very similar way to what we are doing and what we'll be talking about. So just as Chloe did, we are also here to talk about design systems. I mean, it's the hottest thing right now, right? Like, it's been for a couple of years, but it seems that a lot of the information that is out there, it's for teams that have a lot of resource and a lot of time to work on these things. But what happens when you are a smaller team and you have to work on a design system part-time along with all your other work, and you really want to get this thing through? So that's what we're going to talk about here. And we're going to show you how we, as a small team, how we go about building a design system, our particular use case being a white label platform, and some of the tricks, tips, and techniques that we use to save time and be more efficient and agile. And we hope that during this talk you learn some things that you can take back to your team. So on to you, Stephen.
Thanks a lot. So yeah, so as we already said, I'm Stephen, this is Nacho. So we are two of two designers at Simplestream. So Simplestream, just to give you a bit of background, is a software company that provides solutions, front end, back end, and turnkey to broadcasters and media owners. Our customers range from multinational broadcasters to niche content owners. So what our customers all have in common is that they all have content that they wish to monetize, whether that be selling subscriptions a la Netflix, or whether it's serving adverts like ITV Hub or something like that, or by just gaining extra eyeballs on their content like shopping channels. So Simplestream's core front-end product is called the app platform, which represents a bespoke set of common frameworks across all the platforms you can see on the screen. Using these frameworks, our clients can take advantage of a white label type solution where they can get the video content in app stores cost effectively and efficiently. And using Brad Frost's design methodology, we've created atomic design methodology. We've created dozens of pages for customers to choose from, and more granularly, each components also have a set of configurable options. That means that whilst our solution is white label, each customer has its own unique configuration. So as Nacho's just shown there, we design some of the most advanced video streaming apps available, and we rebrand them and adapt them to serve each one of our clients who use our CMS, the content management system known as Media Manager, to ingest and expose their content on the front end in an app or a website, for example. So here you can see on screen an example of a homepage of just some of our Simplestream live apps at the moment. So you can see that there's a common set of UI patterns emerging. So they will look rather similar in stature. So one of the challenges, or one of our biggest challenges that we have, is that because we're white label, there's some interesting challenges. We support 12 platforms natively across mobile, web, and TV, and therefore must support around 80 plus apps live on various app stores at any given time. Our design system must be fully rebrandable to use any colors and support any type of video content, from whether it be linear TV or kids cartoons or live sporting events. And bear in mind that we have a very small team of 2 designers, myself and Nacho, and then 20 or so developers, and we are busy. So any work on the design system needs to be sort of done part-time. One of our biggest challenges is the rebranding challenge. So there are a bunch of ways in which we work to streamline our processes and create better products. But for the purposes of this talk, we're going to talk about one of the biggest tasks we face, which is rebranding. And when I say rebranding, we're going to talk about rebranding our core UI rather than just the traditional sense, like Chloe just spoke about, going from Dplay to Discovery Plus. Because of the nature of our product, almost every week we're reskinning new apps, and sort of on a monthly basis we are getting apps live. So we rebrand and reskin apps a lot, and it's one of our biggest pain points. So changing colors, fonts, app architecture. And on screen here, you can see we basically want to turn that image on the left-hand side into that image on the right-hand side, which sounds very easy. One would think that it just means swapping out a client set of colors for another client set of colors. But as you can see, you're going from sort of dark to light. You've got other challenges there. But with like a brute force approach, it's only going to work 80% of the time. So in the middle, you can see we've got a few accessibility problems and just general issues. There's always about 20% of elements that end up causing an issue, which are typically when certain colors from the library are overlaid onto the other colors within that library. These issues can range from small aesthetic details to serious accessibility problems. To fix these issues, designers and developers would have to work together to manually override these problematic values, which cause multiple branched versions of the core product. We don't want that. It's not scalable. So when dealing with apps that have thousands of components, the time it takes to do this can quickly snowball and cause potentially unrecoverable technical debt. So to demo it simply, we need a way to take our original design on the left-hand side and transform it into the right-hand side, the desired result, without deviating from the core code. And so Nacho's going to talk a bit about our solution and how we achieve that.
So basically, the question that we're asking ourselves is, how might we enable a complete rebranding, including fonts, corner radiuses, in a very scalable way, and in a way that is also really fast? And not only we needed to do this in code, but it was very important that we did this in Figma as well, because we as designers, we are a small team, as we've said before, and we are rebranding our apps sometimes 3-4 times a week. So we really need that speed and that scalability, which is really, really important for us. So how we go about it is basically both through components and themes. So components are the pieces of our UI. Everyone knows what components are, and just themes are basically the styling that goes on top. So colors, corner radiuses, borders, all these styling decisions that make each app unique, and our clients have control over those. So we separated those and we approach them in a different way. I'm going to talk about components now. I'll take you right into Figma actually. So this is a live demo. Let's see how it goes, right? So this is our Figma. We separate every platform in its own little project. So we've got our mobile UI, tablet, web, TV, hybrid TV, Fire TV, all this good stuff. But they all have essentially the same structure. There is our app, our patterns, which live in a separate file. Then we've got components, which that's the components that make up our patterns that also live in a separate file. And then we have just a sandbox component. Sandbox files, which here's where we experiment without having to go inside our core UI. So we can change anything that we need inside these files with live components, but without anything going back to them and changing our core UI, which is very, very important for us, just to be super speedy. So I'll take you into our mobile UI and show you around. So here on the right, you can see we have our mobile patterns. We keep everything in one single file just because in the way that we need to rebrand it, that's very important for us. But we also keep here our themes. So this is for our developers to be able to find whatever theme that they need, and that is being applied to the website. So everything from colors to fonts to radiuses, logos. And then we also have got flows. So this is something that we started doing recently, but these are connected. These scripts are still connected to our main UI and describe some of the flows of our apps, which we are finding really, really useful. And then lastly, because again, we're a small team, we're a startup, we need to supply our marketing team with a lot of assets. So these guys are also connected and in devices to our main UI. So as soon as we change something in the main UI, they appear here. We can just export it to for our marketing team, which is really, really handy. So it's this being super speedy and gaining as much time as we can. And just to talk about a bit of our components, so this is our homepage. I mean, if you guys have seen Netflix or YouTube, it might seem familiar. So there's a carousel or top. I mean, we've got some clients that have live channels and content like that. So this is a live carousel in this case. Continue watching, and we use variants to be able to change these components really, really quickly and create the UI that our client needs. So, for example, this is our bot component, but we could choose a live carousel, and as you can see, it just grows. It gets a title, it gets a channel logo in this case. We can also go to like a catch-up carousel, series. You get the idea. And we do that everywhere in the app. So we're going to show you under the hood to see how this actually works on our components file. So this is our mobile components file now. As you can see here, we separate every component type on its own page, and that's because of Figma's naming system. It makes things quite organized. This is our list and playlist, but we also have like a hero carousel, well, TV guide components, forms and auth. As you can see, it's not the sexiest UI, right? It's not the sexiest way of laying our elements. We don't really spend too much time laying everything out, just because, again, we're a very small team, so we need to be as efficient as possible and make it as scalable and as possible. So this is how we arrive to it. We do find very important is to use variants. So this is the playlist component that you were seeing before. Here's all of our possible variants that our client might need. And then when you click through what we call a thumbnail right here, so we click through it, it lives right next to it. And here's all of our thumbnails components as well. So we have clients that have different entitlements, right? So they might have pre-content or not. So we have everything laid out here. The reason why we wanted to show you here this is because one of the cool things that we found as a small team, we really wouldn't recommend this to a bigger team because it might cause problems with communication. But for a small team, we find this super, super helpful. It's the concept of an alpha component or a base component. We take it quite far. So basically, every single thumbnail that you see here and most of our components, they're actually made of these parent components. So that's the only thing that is contained inside. And this parent component contains all the possible subcomponents that this thumbnail component might have, right? So it has the channel thumbnail. It has all the possible flags, all the possible titles and combinations. So what that allows us to do is that it allows us to make a change to this parent component and repull everything through super, super quickly, and also make sure that all the variants are consistent without any work, right? So for example, let's just say that we have a client that they want extra round thumbnails, right? So let's go, that might be a bit too round, right? So let's go 16, and 16 pixels here as well. So this would also be a token on our, or for our developers. We could even change the title here to bold. And just by changing it here, every single instance that is using those components, as you can see here, it changes as well. So it's very, very easy for us to do. And this is it for components. So we're going to show, I mean, as you can see, like, so we use components, and it's big components that are made of smaller reusable subcomponents. And then we go all the way down to what we call atoms and subatomic components. And that's what Steven is going to talk to you about now. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Thanks, Nacho. Yeah, I think so. So I'll take the stage. Okay, I'm going to be jumping screens. So can you see?
Yes.
Is that all right? Right, here we go. So I'm going to be talking about themes. So if we go back a bit to our goal, how might we enable a rebrand in a scalable way? A scalable and interchangeable component system is only one half of our design system that Nacho's just touched on. The other half is what we call themes. Inspired by the tool that we use to theme our client UI, if components control the structure of the UI, then our themes control the styling. So as Nacho's already sort of touched on, themes include colors, typography, spacing, icons, corner radius, etc. Basically anything that a client might want to have control over. And we control all these values through tokens. So if I can just show you on the left-hand side, that's our Figma view, and then on the right-hand side, that's the sort of code view. So in Figma, we have a style called color primary, and in code, we have a variable or token with the same name fulfilling the same. Design tokens like this have completely changed the game for us because they enable us to completely rebrand an app or website in a very controlled way without changing any code, just by changing the value of these tokens. So how might we reflect this approach in Figma? So I'm just going to do a little, again, live demo. This can only go worse than Nacho's. That went very well. So in Figma, we keep the styles in separate libraries and wherever possible. So here comes the cool part. So here we go. On the left-hand side, you can see we've got our base theme, or our sort of brandless theme. So as Nacho was looking through some of the UI there, you would have seen these main colors popping out. On the right hand side, I've got a sports variant. So if I go back, I can whiz through, and we've done 3 sort of mock UI that aren't clients, they're just hypothetical clients. So you can see on the left hand side, you've got the color tokens here, which allow us real granular detail. So changing those colors and having control over those from our standpoint and the client standpoint. And again, typography. And so what we do, we use a plugin called Thema. So that's what I'm going to show you. So on the left-hand side, as I explained, we've got the brandless theme. On the right-hand side is the sport theme, which is essentially the left-hand side duplicated, and then the values, the color tokens have been changed. So on the left-hand side, if I enable the sidebars, you can see the Your Logo theme. So we call it Your Logo, which is like the brandless theme. And on the right-hand side, it's the sport theme. So it's just been renamed. And then we can publish that. And then what we can do is we open up Thema by Thomas Lowry, I believe. And what we can do, we can add a library to that. So all of our color styles, if I go split prefix styles into themes, we can create that. That then creates us a library and then stores that library in Thema. So you'll be able to see sport theme here. We can do exactly the same for textiles. So if that top bar jumps down, that'd be great. So again, on the left-hand side, you can see that these are our base textiles. And then on the right-hand side, here are the sport textiles. So we changed them earlier just so that we wouldn't have any problems. But again, you can see on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side that they're the same. And they have to be named completely the same for Thema to work. So I'll do the same. I go into Thema. It allows me to add split by prefix styles, which is there, and I will enable the textiles, and I'll create that. That will again create a library that we can then harness in the future. So putting that into practice, this is where the magic happens. We again select everything. We run Thema, and this is do or die. So we hit sport theme and we apply that. And as you can see, that all the values have changed completely. And then if I do the sport textiles, we had a bit of an impact for an impact. So you can see that really helps us because everything is so structured. It means that we can swap out UI very quickly. So one thing you're probably thinking is that we've got movie imagery in here instead of sport imagery. So as a little bonus, we also have, because Figma treats imagery as a color fill, we can also have an image library, which we do for each client, and that's how this looks. And you can see where the channels were coming from when Nacho was doing his demo. So this I've already committed to Figma. So again, draw, box around, and then apply sport imagery to that. And so this is just a demo theme, a demo few screens, but as you can imagine, us changing the colors, the fonts, and the imagery across a wide range of screens, and then allowing the client to sort of pick their configuration, as I spoke about earlier, is so much easier for us, and it saves us tons of time. So we set another one up earlier, so I'll just do a few changes so that you can really see it come to life. So the textiles are changing, and then the imagery we can change back. So this has saved us tons of time. I'll just keep moving around, but let me wrap up. Sorry, bear with me. So in closing, I think it goes without saying that as designers, as modest designers, we understand that this is an iterative process. As software evolves, so does our process. And so as we present this to you today, we know it's by no means the finished article. So be glad for any feedback. But I hope we managed to shed some light on how you as designers can architect and maintain a complex design system with just a small team, with a few shortcuts along the way that Nacho just showed you using the Alpha components. You've been able to see how we utilize components, tokens, and the Thema plugin together to keep our design system scalable across a large range of clients with a good degree of accuracy and maintainability. And on behalf of Nacho and I, we'd like to thank you for your time this evening.
Well done, chaps. That was really, really impressive. I know you said that your designs weren't sexy, but good organization is the epitome of that, I can assure you. I think we can all agree. I do have some questions. So if that's all right with both of you or three of you, I'd like to ask those. If anybody does have any questions as well in the chat, feel free to ping them over. All right, first question, I'm going to come over to Chloe. So there was thousands of colors in there, tons of resources. That must have been quite a headache for you to start all of that work. Where did you start, and who did you have to convince to make this happen?
As in with the change of Figma?
Yeah, to sort of onboard this new robust system.
So it literally, it's going to sound really cringe, but it literally just kind of happened, especially because we were becoming global as well. So we didn't want to run into the situation where other teams were sending us files that we couldn't access because they were, number one, too large, or you're requiring, with that, there's a lot of information that goes behind that as well. So good internet connection, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it sounds really cringe, but it did just kind of happen. But also from a business perspective, and what the business want to know is, how much is this going to improve the workflow? How much am I going to save money as well? Because that was the big thing. Switching to Figma saved us so much money because we got rid of all those programs. And with the documentation, I think we're still looking at, zero height, but like that's just realistically 2 softwares now. Yeah. And I think with that, as I said before in my presentation, we've never worked so closely before. And it used to be designers would work on their work and then we just give it to developers and then like pray that something good would like come out of it. This is like good luck kind of thing. So yeah, I think that from the business perspective, they could see, and it was like a lot more clarity into what good it was doing rather than obviously like any negatives. So I think that really helped build a case study, but there's also like a lot of articles as well. And obviously this shift from Sketch to Figma and why, and I also do get that like with Sketch and Abstract, it is more like the devil you may know kind of thing. So it is very difficult to move when you're so used to like a style of working. But Figma is very, very similar in a sense, but it's just a lot more how can I say it? It's just a lot more like kind of thought out in terms of workflow and processes. So as long as you're proving that as like a case study, that's all you need to know.
Great. And kind of a similar question to Nacho and Steve, who did you have to convince or get buy-in from before you started this heavily component and tokenized approach to your designs?
So I'm happy to take this. So my boss, Lewis Arthur, we spoke to him at the start. I mean, it's a hard sell, but I mean, he trusts us. I've worked with Lewis for a long time, in like sort of 2 stints of work, and so the big thing was lockdown, to be quite honest, because we were both working in silo. I was not in Nacho's house, so we were working to be we were having to collaborate, and we were having to work online. We couldn't just jump in and out of sketch files, so we needed something that worked, and Figma was like the next step for us. And we spoke and tried to convince Lewis. Lewis was quite happy for us to give it a go, and I think, like I said before the talk, I sort of set Nacho with a lot of underground work, so like work that just getting some of our styles over from Sketch, seeing how it worked, having a bit of a proof of concept, having that feedback loop, going around to Lewis, which is my boss, and just showing him, look, these are working, it's going to improve our workflow, and keep building out. So a platform at a time. So one of the mobile is our probably biggest platform in terms of what we show our clients before they get buy-in for the apps. And so we moved over mobile first, and then as soon as mobile was working so quickly and efficiently, and using what we just showed you with Thema and things like that, it was highly efficient and more efficient than we had, and had a greater level of accountability and maintainability than we ever had in Sketch. And so that's why we made the jump. And in terms of who we had to convince, it was my boss. But getting the buy-in, I think we did it sort of little by little, a bit under the radar, a bit trying to be a bit sneaky at times, and just giving me trying to firefight while Nacho was doing that in the background, just to try and get it over the line, because it's a bit chicken and egg, and it's a hard buy. It's a hard question. It's a hard buy-in to have from a business point of view.
Yeah, I think you approached it in a nice way. You put collaboration and communication right in the front and center, and that's ultimately what you're going to be doing in the design process as well. So, really nice way to bring internal buy-in. Chloe, we have a question from Sanya. I think that's how I pronounce it. How do your spec files work in comparison to using Abstract for version control and dev handoff?
Okay, so with Discovery, how it works is we have a working file, and with that working file, we collaborate with UX, POs, PMs, whoever in that working file. Once the file is approved, it then goes into specs. So so version control, you have that list from the working files, if that makes sense. Developers don't need to see that, because it's more, we don't want to run into any errors or for files to be picked up, which is not new, basically. So specs is just the final handover, if that makes sense. But we never used Abstract for developer handover. We used Zeppelin. Now, the problem with that was that if there was a change, for example, if we changed a color, even on like a button, like we would have to re-upload the whole design onto Zeppelin. And that is not easy. If it's a huge file, it takes, I'm not lying, I think one time I was sat at my laptop, it took like 30 minutes for like this file to like upload. So is it time consuming, or was it time consuming? Yeah. So far this solution, or this way forward, has improved it a lot. With Abstract as well, the version control was good, but we weren't, as I said, we weren't using it for developers. It was just purely for us as designers. But I also think that it is important for the wider business to see also where we've come from, if they were interested in obviously seeing from A to Z kind of thing. So with that, again, working files and the collaboration within that link, that's where everything happens. And then specs is, as I said, the handover, the final product, that's production. No one touches that kind of thing, if that makes sense. I hope that answers your question.
Yep. Great, thank you. Next question, Nacho and Steve. I really love the approach with the base components or structure components, however you want to call them. Really nice way to build out your components. Has this approach just more broadly had a positive effect on developer handoff? How has that changed since you've started shifting things this way?
Do you want to take it, Nacho?
Sure. I mean, it's definitely because we are such a small team. We have a lot of responsibilities, right? Like across all of 8 platforms that we have to maintain this design, right? So anything that saves us time and allows us to very easily create these variants, it's great, because before we had to make a decision like, do we want to, when we're creating a form field, for example, right, or a button, do we actually want to go through the trouble of creating all these variants, knowing that if we want to change something in the future, we're going to have to spend a couple of hours there changing and stuff like that. So many times what we ended up is just like stripping everything down to these bare essentials, just so we can work faster and more efficiently. But we're using this approach of base components. What has allowed us to do this to very quickly create all these variants. So create for a form field, again, create like the field one, the active, error states, all these different possibilities for developers, right? And if there's any changes that need to be made, it's so easy to do that in the base component. And then it automatically ripples through absolutely everywhere, that it is actually faster than we were doing before. And we are actually giving the developers a much better handoff than we were doing before. So it's been really incredible. I would add a caveat with base components, right? And I've been talking to some people about them, because it is a really interesting concept, but I believe it's great for small teams. But when you are talking about teams of like over 10, 12 designers, I was talking to some people at Google and Facebook about this, and they were saying that they considered this approach, but because their organizations are so much bigger, the problem with this approach is that someone can go in, and because of all the layers in each component are hidden or showing, right? But every component contains absolutely everything. Someone that doesn't know about the component can go in and then show something that they shouldn't and create a component that shouldn't really exist. So their approach is a lot more like what we were doing before. Create every component from scratch and every variant from scratch, which means that you cannot get it wrong. I was going to say something a bit more rude. But for us, because we know the product so well, and because it's only 2 people and we communicate very well and very easily, this base component approach, I would recommend it for any small team that has good communication.
Yeah, thank you for the caveat. That's typically the advice I would give as well, is if it's a smaller unit where everybody knows what's going on all the time, base components are fantastic. If you do need that more transparent approach to design, unfortunately, you're probably going to have to make all your components individually. And it depends on where we want to put the load. Do we want to put the load on the design systems manager or on the designer themselves when they're
exactly
making components? Yeah. And
that's a great point, because these teams many times have design system managers that's their job.
Exactly. Yeah.
So great for them, like more jobs for us.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you've done some really fantastic work. Last question for Chloe. What advice would you give for people who want to start thinking about a token or system-based design workflow? Where should they start?
Okay, so this is actually some advice that my friend gave in terms of like labeling conventions. And I hope this answers your question, but like in a nutshell, like I think the dev should have full control over when it comes to naming conventions and tokens. Us as designers, it shouldn't really bother us, if that makes sense, what an icon or a color is like named. I think that should just be purely down to the devs. And with that, it's just about communication, and that's how obviously you can start structuring your baseline, your design tokens, if that makes sense. But at Discovery, this was like a very long process. We had a lot of people kind of working on it, and not just designers, but a lot of, I guess, key stakeholders as well that were kind of, familiar with the process as well. So it's not something that you can just do and we're like in the week. It's a very like long drawn out process as well. And I think that's something to remember as well. But moving forward, and I guess the process moving forward as well with tokens is a very, very good solution for maintaining and scaling a design system. So it's good. It's a good thing to consider.
Great, thank you. You're going to be horrifying a lot of designer egos, suggesting that we shouldn't be the center of everything there, Chloe. Prepare for a backlash. Nacho, Steve, do you had anything to add to that?
Totally agree. I mean, developers are the ones that have to like move it to the end of the line and through the line, right? So yeah, you let them do the work, and they've been dealing with naming for decades, right? So they actually have a lot of ideas of like different configurations and much better approaches to most designers. But that said, like, I mean, of course, give your ideas. And like, for example, our color token system, which is reasonably complicated. We have like over 60 colors that has been named by us. But then when we go to more complicated stuff, we just let them decide. Like that, it's not a nice process to name things. It's a very complicated thing, right? So why don't just let them do the work? They do it better. So yeah.
Yeah, I think like Nacho touched on, we did Nacho did all the naming for the colors, and we handed that over to the devs, and they were quite happy to accept that. But yeah, if they ever have like any sort of suggestions, we're subservient to them. Absolutely, we're complete. Like, yeah, if that's the way you want to do it, let us know. We'll change it our side, and you can, have the reins in that respect. Because yeah, we don't care too much.
Great. I think we're going to wrap it up there, folks. Thank you so much for your excellent talks and the questions in the chat as well. We'll see you all next time for the next Friends of Figma London event.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody.
Bye, guys. Nice to meet you all.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.